For favor, we know who we are. Let no one threaten that in our peaceful country, Ghana. Ultimate Health in Effect. Listen every Sunday, 2:05. Norte by nature knows who he is. And you, my discerning listeners, you make it worthwhile. Honored and humbled. And today, I present to you some kind of a forensic dissection of the issues, matters arising on the medico-legal landscape. Wow, I've heard some pronouncements. And I've got just the right person, the Deputy Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine Benyubala, a doctor by profession and training, indeed practice. And then he's gone further to get a master's and a PhD in ethics and medical law. And also on the sub-regional body, I think the West African College, He's also a part-time lecturer. So we're looking at the issues, and I've been looking and listening, So we've had a doctor who the Medical and Dental Council charges of practicing without legal authority, who has been recently duly discharged by a circuit court. I'll correct myself, and I believe my learned resource person will do that as well. For want of prosecution, the Medical and Dental Council, through its registrar, Dr. Eli Atikwi, has also responded to that. So I'm looking at the issues, and I'm looking at the mandate of the Medical and Dental Council, who are supposed to secure, in the highest public interest, the highest standards of medical and dental practice in our beloved country, Ghana. And indeed, they are also required under that same law and decree to uphold and enforce these standards through the employment of the powers conferred on them by that very decree. So when I heard in the, or suggested or implied in the press conference that perhaps the body is not required or is not an enforcement body, I really needed to bring them into the studio. Doc, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right. A very charged intro by me, but that's how I am. But let's cut to chase. We've had you in the studios before, but let's establish for my listeners the mandate and jurisdiction of the Medical and Dental Council of Ghana.
Okay, largely, the Medical and Dental Council, as the statutory agency,
right,
established under Part 2 of the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act of 2013 at 857, is to secure in the public, and you were spot on, is to secure in the public interest the highest, it didn't say high or higher,
the highest
standards in the training and practice of medicine and dentistry in Ghana.
Okay.
And to be able to do that, the statute provides us with specific functions, some of which actually in your intro you did mention.
Okay.
For example, we have to deal with all issues of training in medicine and dentistry.
Right.
Which would mean that assessing facilities, contents of programs, for the purposes of deciding whether those meet the minimum standards that we expect.
Okay.
Whether in establishing a medical or dental training institution, and we now also regulate physician assistants.
Okay.
Including the certified registered anesthetist.
Okay.
So to be able to set up, we need to assess. We have set up basic
standards for training. Before then, you come out, the systems, the curriculum, the institutions turning you out are the subject, are under the jurisdiction of the Medical and Dental Council. Okay, great.
The second thing is we are also to ensure that we set standards of professional conduct.
Okay.
And to uphold them. And this is vital. So because of the nature of the medical and dental professions,
right,
anything goes wrong, the highest, most valued value on earth now, human life, And we, as at now, we haven't perfected the skill of bringing people back. So, because of that, we are supposed to enforce, not only set the standard, but ensure that people abide, all professionals regulated by us abide. We are also supposed to regulate the practice.
Okay.
So we deal with issues of training, set standards for training, set standards for practice. Then we regulate you in accordance with the standard
set, right?
And we train you in accordance with the standard set. Then we register you. So we have a register.
You are required to keep a register.
That's the law.
Of those who meet the criteria, the standards.
Exactly. So not only meeting, but you must have attained and maintained to continue to remain on our register.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of intervening factors which may come and disqualify you for remaining on our register.
So your position, or a doctor or a dentist's position, and now you mentioned anesthetist and physician assistant.
Yes.
On the register, is not permanent.
No.
It's subject to renewal and, should I say, verification by the council. So at any point in time, a member in good standing may lose that standing.
Absolutely.
Based on the standards.
Yes.
Okay.
So even if you are on our permanent register, you are required on an annual basis to demonstrate that you have up-to-date skills and competencies, which are in accordance with the current best international practice in medicine and dentistry, to be able to hold yourself and continue to practice medicine or dentistry.
Great.
So because of that, it is not just the payment of fees like other professions may do. No. Payment of fees is a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient condition.
Necessary but not sufficient.
Yes, to be registered by us.
Okay.
You pay the fees, it provides us the opportunity to assess the form and to see, because we require, for example, that you do a certain number of continuing professional development programs with a certain number of points allocated in specific disciplines.
Okay.
And by these disciplines, I mean about a minimum of 10 in what we call continuing medical education component of the continuing professional development.
So not only are you required from the onset to register and be duly licensed.
Excellent.
You must be enhancing and updating your skills and competencies over time. And the Medical and Dental Council has the authority to verify this and therefore put you out as having same.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so to be able to guide the profession and protect the public, that is a core mandate area of the council. Okay. And so in our professional practice, it's not sufficient to say that, I was registered permanently in this year, and then, I've paid my fees.
Okay.
Payment of fees is necessary.
I think that point is made.
Yes.
Right. If you just joined us, I have as a guest in the studio the Deputy Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Ghana, in the person of Dr. Divine Banyubala. And he's a doctor. He's also got higher or postgraduate qualifications, a master's and doctorate in ethics and medical law. Right? And we're looking at some of the matters arising because there have been a lot of, should I say, events and pronouncements on the medico-legal landscape that affect you and I. When we go to a health facility, when we are managed or treated by a health professional under their jurisdiction, certain assumptions are perhaps made and taken for granted. Recent occurrences suggest to us that, hey, there are challenges, and indeed maybe, he will correct me, but maybe the Medical and Dental Council lacks the muscle, legal or otherwise, or the resources to execute its mandate as spelled out just a few minutes ago by Dr. Banyubala. I'm speaking and discussing these against the background of the recent discharge in a particular specific case. And we'll use that case as a test example. And since I have a lawyer in the studio, I'll be very careful so that I'm not pulled in for contempt or damaging or breaching anybody's rights. If you have any concerns, questions, my WhatsApp is 0244340437. Yes, Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health, and we're looking at the regulation of the practice of medicine and dentistry in Ghana. Okay, so having said that, everybody who holds themselves out as a qualified practitioner must have gone through your processes and your verification?
Yes, it's a requirement.
If you train outside and you come to Ghana, you still go through. And in the past, there was some brouhaha about the entry exam and so on and so forth. But suffice it to say that everybody who holds themselves out must have gone through your processes.
Absolutely. If you check,
okay,
as part of the functions, we are first to ensure that the pre-registration training of newly qualified doctors and dentists and physician assistants from accredited training institutions.
Okay.
And that is important. Because if you go and you train in a way, side school,
that doesn't meet our standards.
That does not meet our standards,
okay,
and is not accredited by us. You will not be registered by us.
Okay.
You will not actually even be admitted into the exam
to
start with. Then we are also supposed to conduct examinations for foreign trained practitioners. And that's the point that you were referring to. Then also locally, if for any reason we feel that the trainees coming out of this country somehow the competencies and the skills that we expect them to have do not meet our needs, we are empowered by this law to conduct exams for locally trained medical and dental students.
I think we spent quite sufficient time on competency and training and skills. All right. Now, in discharging your duties, you have certain powers.
Yes.
I believe the framers of this legislation envisage some of these challenges. So you are clothed with certain powers and sanctions under this.
Yes.
Right. Now, in the recent development, and I want to be referring to that, but you guide me if I'm going astray or entering into the realm of, contempt. But in the recent case, and in the response of the council, we are hearing, or perhaps we're perceiving, a certain suggestion that, well, we've done our best and there's nothing more we can do. Doesn't that suggest that enforcement is not your role? And I've seen certain media publications that seem to quote segments of that press conference that suggest that, hey, we are not the ones to enforce. Can you clarify that?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I think that it's important for us to clarify. The first general statement I wish to make is that we regulate over 11,000 currently professionals on our register of various categories. And a lot of these professionals, and in fact, medical doctors and dentists, are a highly disciplined cadre of people.
Right.
And therefore, the conversations we are having in the case in reference is an isolated case.
Okay.
And does not reflect
the overall
conduct of the professionals, highly specialized professionals that we regulate.
Very well.
And I think I need to put that on the record. Now, the point about enforcement, there are levels of enforcement.
Okay.
So maybe, thank you very much for the question. In terms of enforcement of professional regulations, that is our mandate. And that is what we are doing in the case under reference.
Okay.
However, where we have criminal sanctions arising out of requiring a different level of enforcement, the Medical and Dental Council does not have prosecutorial powers. And therefore, it has to rely on the institution that has the power to prosecute. And in this country is the Attorney General, who also has given delegated powers to the police to prosecute.
Right.
And therefore, when we're talking about not an enforcer, it may be not an enforcer in the latter sense.
In the levels you just described.
But not in terms of our core mandate, which is upholding and enforcing professional standards.
I'll come back to that in a sec. If you've just joined us, 23 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program indeed is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. This and every Sunday, 2:05, we are live. And I'm in the studio with Dr. Divine Banyubala. He's the Deputy Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, and we're looking at matters related to the regulation of practice. You and I will go to hospital for some reason or other, and we've also made it clear that we're discussing specific, deviations.
Yeah.
We are not suggesting that every doctor out there is doing something shady, but should something shady occur, what is the regime that responds to it? That's what we're looking at. If you have any questions, concerns, 0244340437. That's my WhatsApp number. This one says, Note, is it not time the council had their own tribunal to handle their cases before it goes to court? NCA has a tribunal chaired by a lawyer. This is from Anthony. I'll put that to my guest in a sec. You can send yours as well. So he's suggesting a tribunal. Then this is from Dede in Maryland. We are supposed to do this and we are supposed to do that. And the listing goes on. If I may ask, are they doing what they are supposed to do? Do the doctors in good standing, whose names are posted and regularly updated on its website, if the council has any? They do have a website, so the public can search and make informed decisions. I was coming to that because just before Christmas, I had them in the studio. They hosted an international conference of medical and dental councils. And indeed, the registrar for the Kenyan Council shared with us on Joy 99.7 FM that they even have jurisdiction over the facilities. And weekly, every Friday, the Kenyan Medical and Dental Council even publishes and updates the list of facilities in good standing before any health insurance claims are paid, right here in the studio. And we recognize some challenges on the website of the our local Medical and Dental Council. So Dede is bringing that up. Now, let me just ask. So when you put up these names and when doctors are deemed to be in good standing, is it available? I've been on your website and I know some of those things are available.
Absolutely. One, by statute, by law, we are required to gazette the names of all medical and dental practitioners and physician assistants, including the CRAs, by the 31st of January of each year.
Okay.
We have done so.
Right.
Once we do that, because the law specifically requires a gazette, we take it to the publishers and it's gazetted. Okay. So there are copies that we actually distribute.
Doc, let me just seek clarification from you. Gazetting in crude colonial times was a specific process where it goes to the state press.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, in the times and era of social media and websites and so on, has it changed?
No.
Okay.
What has happened?
What are you required to do by way of gazetting?
Social media, technology in general, is an enabler.
Okay.
So it does not necessarily replace standard practice.
Okay.
So what it means is that this gazette is also available on soft copy on our website.
Okay.
So once the printers deliver the gazette to us, we upload the final copy of that gazette
to facilitate and enable access.
To enable access to our practitioners.
Great.
And we are at a point where we are looking at amending some of our laws to allow us to continue to update that gazette on a daily basis.
Okay, great. Right, 27 minutes past the hour. We're living, growing, and learning on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health. We're looking at very detailed bits and pieces and the cog wheels of the Medical and Dental Council in its, should I say, bid to regulate the practice in Ghana. If you have any questions, concerns, you can share with us. Now, let me come back, Doc, to ask you this. You know, I've read back on this specific case, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to specify certain things. The doctor in question, duly qualified from KNUST in 97.
Absolutely.
Was registered by your facility or council in 2000.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
In 2003.
December of 2000.
Yes, in 2003.
Yes.
Right? He was brought to your notice alongside another colleague.
Absolutely.
For what, for want of better, malpractice or an alleged malpractice. He was suspended and from what I'm reading, refused to serve the suspension. Now, 2003, Doc, is how many years ago?
Thank you very
much.
You know,
and there are several telltale footprints, which to me suggests that you have identified an infraction, you've identified a default or deviation from the standards so set, but have not been able to bring the alleged defaulter to book from 2003.
Well, thank you very much for brilliant research.
Right.
And that is why we love appearing on your program.
Right.
Now, that is not entirely accurate.
Okay.
What is accurate is that once the complaint was made in 2003.
Right.
In respect of a failure.
And let me just correct that. That is not the issue that went to court and was discharged.
Yeah, okay. I was clarifying.
Okay, thank you very much.
But it's an important prelude.
Right.
Because usually...
These are antecedents.
Yes.
Okay.
Because usually from our regulatory experience, you begin to see the signs early on for problem or problematic practitioners.
Practice, okay, or practitioners.
And all practice, actually.
Right. Okay.
So what happened in 2003 was the first notice.
Okay.
And it's true, that's when he came to our attention, of undertaking a procedure completely outside the scope of his competence.
Okay.
Resulting in serious consequences.
Okay.
Sanctions were given, suspension, together with a fine,
okay,
which he refused to pay. So it was part service.
Can you clarify? These are facts. We are not speculating.
Yes.
We are not gossiping.
Yes.
Right. So the council went through its processes.
Yes. The disciplinary processes.
Right.
Because one of your contributors indicated that we need our own tribunal.
Yes. Okay.
We do have a disciplinary committee which will hear the cases. We have two levels of committees. We have a preliminary committee we call the Penal Cases Committee.
Okay.
So if you make a complaint or there's an issue against a practitioner, that committee's duty is to make a prima facie case.
Okay.
Once they establish a prima facie case against you, then they direct that matter to go to full disciplinary inquiry.
So fast forward, the prima facie case was established.
Yes. And
he
went through the disciplinary process.
Right. He was present.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right.
And given this fine.
So its logical conclusion were the fines and the sanctions.
Exactly.
Which he refused.
Which he failed to pay the fine.
He failed. Okay. My word.
Then he came again to the attention of council in about 2005.
Okay.
Specifically in relation to advertising.
Right.
And you know our profession is such that there are ethical and unethical ways of advertising.
Okay.
And he was found by the rules and regulations of the profession to have infringed upon the advertising protocols.
Okay.
And he was once again brought before us and suspended.
Suspended again.
Suspended.
Now, 31 minutes past the hour of 2. Let me just ask you directly, Doc. So, in that instance, the first sanctions, which he failed to observe or to serve, right? I'm trying to sound very legal here.
Yes.
Right? And then he's brought again for an ethical violation with regard to advertisement, right?
Yes.
When he was brought that subsequent time, was the hearing and the process required to take into consideration the earlier violation and default? Or was it just a totally new case altogether? Because I have followed this and I know his registration number and everything. So you have those records.
Yes.
In the subsequent case, was that taken into consideration?
Absolutely.
It was.
See, and our rules, disciplinary proceedings rules, require that even if you are brought and complain about in respect of one matter, and we find that whilst the trial is going or the hearing is going, other matters arise.
Right.
We are required by the rules to take those into account.
Right.
And this was these issues were taken into account.
Okay.
And that's why he was suspended.
A suspension of
his license.
Of his license for how long?
I don't have the record yet,
right.
but I know that he was suspended. And usually our suspensions, depending upon the severity of the thing, last from a year to about 5.
Okay. All right. I'll pull it up because I read on it.
Yes.
Let me just read this from one of our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Noted, does the council have an upper age limit for medical practitioners in Ghana? Does the council conduct a health and physical condition verification for the annual licenses? This is from Togbui in Tafa. Right, I don't know whether that's a traditional ruler or is it nickname, but Togbi, thanks for sharing. You can share yours on our WhatsApp page 0244340437. We're discussing the processes and the nuances with regard to the regulation of medical and dental practice in Ghana. And my guest is the Deputy Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very fascinated by Togbi's insight.
Right.
Now, let me break it down for comprehension of our listeners. We regulate 3 things from the conversations we have been having.
All right.
Competence is 1. professional competence.
Are you
in terms
competent?
of technical skills and knowledge.
Okay.
We also regulate, obviously, conduct. And then we regulate ethics, professional ethics.
Okay.
So there are the three things. That's why he's
Let me try and
absent.
break them apart. So, professional competence, right?
Yes.
Courses I've done, my skills, and so on and so forth. You regulate that and you
Exactly.
check for it.
Yes.
Then conduct means I may have the skills, but I'm
But-
misbehaving.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
You are not acting in accordance with established professionally,
Great.
approved
Understood.
conduct.
Very well.
Now, once you are looking at competence, it means that as you age, for example, if you were a surgeon
Right.
and you begin to develop a bit of Parkinson's
Right. Or some tremor.
or tremor,
Okay.
that is why he's asked.
Which will affect your manual
Exactly.
dexterity, your ability
your
to do
ability to
fine
do
motor
fine motor skills.
tasks. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So, but as a general rule, we do not have age restrictions.
Okay.
Into profession, and for very good reasons. I mean,
Great.
this has been a debate at the level of
Okay.
regulation. But what we do have is assessment processes,
Okay.
evidenced by, and because of that, we have developed what we call a fitness to practice policy.
Right.
Because there are a lot of practitioners,
Fitness to practice.
fitness to practice.
Okay.
There are a lot of practitioners who may be technically competent, but they have some infirmity either of the mind
Okay.
or of the body that they are no longer able to discharge the competence that they may have.
Okay.
And therefore, we need a process of either assisting them to see whether we can place restrictions on their condition, their license. So, for example, the surgeon, if you had tremors and you can no longer cut, you can still be an attending and supervise a junior consultant.
Okay.
Without doing the surgery yourself. Or you can teach. You
Okay.
get it? Or you can undertake public education campaigns.
If you
Those
took-
are restrictions.
If you take and enforce such restrictions, Doc,
Absolutely.
are you required to gazette and publicize them? Would I see that on your website? That
you
physician so or this and this person can no longer undertake these procedures by virtue of a restriction imposed on him or her by the medical and dental
Not
community.
only that, in fact, we are looking to, and we have a draft airline, which will pass by the end, hopefully by the end of this first quarter of this year. We are modernizing all of these old rules, and we are requiring that even when people have made a complaint against me, and I have been hauled before the council.
Okay.
The council should be able to publish that information
Okay.
on the website, and you can follow the hearing and what the outcome is.
So currently that is not
That is not
available.
We only make public notices and publications in newspapers.
Again,
at the end of the decision.
right. Again, when I hosted the registrar, Dr. Atikpu, in regards to him this Sunday, he couldn't be with us.
Yeah.
But when I hosted him and the Kenyan registrar,
Yes.
these were things that I was quickly able to click on
Yes.
the Kenyan website.
Yeah. That is because
So
they
their
have
law-
a newer law
Right.
which has taken all of this into account.
Okay.
And we are taking the advantage of ensuring that we undertake certain amendments in our act.
Okay.
And incorporate a lot of these concerns
Right.
have already been put into the draft.
So
LR.
there's something in the
Unfortunately-
pipeline.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they have not yet become law.
They haven't
That's-
materialized.
yes.
Okay, great. 38 minutes past the hour of 2. Gosh, time's moving so fast, but we are learning and understanding. Now, this is from BB North Kanishi. Thanks, BB. So, if he failed to pay the fine in 2003, how come he was allowed to continue working for other issues to keep coming up? And this is why my intro talked about the capacity of the council in upholding and enforcing these things in the highest public interest. And those are not quotes or words chosen freely by me. I lifted them from the establishing statute, right? I'll give my guest a breather by just trying to recap on a few things. But let me just perhaps come back to the specific case. And Doc, please do correct me if I'm going into the area and the realms of contempt, right? I long lost my student mattress. I don't want to go into prison, right? I'm not going to sleep anywhere else but my home. But let's look at this again. Okay. So, as far back as 2003, then 2012, it came up again,
Yes.
and the telltale footprints are there. Not to mention that our own astute journalists and lawyers here at Multimedia
absolutely. You did a fantastic job.
Seth Kwame Boateng, Manasseh Azuri, and so many. We unearthed so much.
Yes.
But all this was not able to give the council muscle, or did not find true expression in the highest public interest. The reason I'm saying this is that I read other cases and other pronouncements and releases by the council where the suggestion was that, well, complaints had been made, but we needed formal complaints from members of the public who had experienced some of these things. And therefore, the council was perhaps deficient in some of those cases. What do some of these media and other forms of evidence and complaints, what do they constitute in such a case like this?
It was a technical, I need to explain this because it's very important so that the public get it clear.
Okay.
This council has been one of the most proactive professional regulators.
Right.
Not only in Ghana, but on the African continent.
Okay.
And I'm happy you alluded to that.
Right.
And we're not only limited to Africa, but the world body. And each time we undertake continued competencies in various areas of regulation to ensure that we are up to tax.
Okay.
Now, what happened was, in our law at the time, they say you have to be registered with us to come under our regulatory control.
Okay.
It was problematic because that law did not separate license from registration simplicity.
Okay.
And this was...
So now we're getting into the realm of technicalities.
Exactly. So I need to take my time and explain it. Then the interpretation given at that time, therefore, was that given that the gentleman in question had not renewed his registration with the council, then anything he did was in the realm of the criminal law.
Okay.
And therefore, make a report to the police for him to be arrested. Because you could not bring somebody who was not a regulated professional by you to discipline the person.
Okay.
I hope you understand.
So when so when it tiptoes into the realm of criminal law, do you, in essence or essentially, lose your powers and mandate?
No.
You don't.
Regulation is a collaborative job.
Okay.
Collaboration between the public, the regulator, police, other state institutions and agencies for us to better protect ourselves. In all of us, our collective interest. Because we are all potential patients and anything can happen.
Okay.
Now, just fast forward.
Yeah.
Because of this interpretation, the council needed to establish on its own accord, with concrete evidence, that this practitioner who had not renewed his registration with council since 2012 was nonetheless carrying on.
Okay.
This is not small business. And we had to do undercover investigation.
Right.
That is what led us, when we were satisfied with our findings and were sure that in law we were covered and we needed to act, that was when he was arrested the first time in 2016.
Right.
And you find that he was arrested with the assistance of the police.
But he was arrested for what specifically?
For practicing without license.
Okay. Now, in that instance, you were able and successful in locking up and closing down the facility.
Absolutely.
Legally and technically, before I invite my listeners by phone, legally and technically, when the Medical and Dental Council says it has closed down a facility, what does it mean, and how can somebody, a practitioner all the same, just go and open that and continue to practice it? Legally, what does it mean when you say you have closed it? Is it just the physical locking with the padlock, or does it have legal backing?
It is legal backing. If you check under the law that set us up, under Section 47 of it, and the framers of that act, being mindful of the health and safety issues involved in our profession, clothed council with those powers of closure. That because hospitals are not ordinary homes and rooms, therefore in there are dangerous equipment, articles and medicines.
In the wrong hands, definitely.
And in the wrong hands, they could create a serious problem. So we have powers under that act to lock up places where if you are a fake or an unregistered practitioner,
Great.
and we arrest you, and there's no qualified professional. Remember, the primary interest of the council is not to close down hospital, is to weed out fake or unregistered practitioners, so that we can protect the
So that
public.
was duly done.
So once,
legally.
yes. So once we lock it, it's powers of here.
Right.
With assistance of the police, we
Right.
lock it. In fact, the law says even if there's no police there, we lock it, and within 24 hours we must hand over to the police.
To the police.
That's what we did in the first instance.
So when you lock up,
Yes.
right? And let me just announce the phone line: 0302-216-541, 0302-216-541. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We're discussing the regulation of medical and dental practice in Ghana with the Deputy Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Divine Banyubala, who's graciously agreed to share his Sunday afternoon with us. Okay, right. So when you do that, right,
Yes.
with legal backing, you
Yes.
have locked and closed down a facility,
Yeah.
and duly in collaboration with the police service.
Absolutely.
Right. If somebody goes against that and opens the said same facility, what does that constitute?
Well, that's the point I was getting to.
Okay.
So that's why once I said that this particular case is an isolated case because it's out of character.
Okay.
And it is not in sync with the profession that we all belong to and cherish.
Right.
And therefore, it's almost like having a serial offender. He may be arrested by the best elite police investigations, but the person is granted bail. The next day, the person goes to rob another person. Then you are beginning to think that it is the police that are not doing their work.
Okay.
But the police will work within the limitations of the rules. And remember, we are a professional regulator. So we are people who are disciplined and expect that we will respect rules. So once we locked it up, he caused his lawyers to issue proceedings directed against the council for us to be hauled before the court, for the court to direct us to open up his place. But even before the court could sit on his own matter, he had gone on radio and said he had opened it up and he was using. But that structure has a unique characteristic. On the first 2 floors appears to be the health facility. Then there are 2 other floors where he at that time was residing with his family. So
it doubles as...
So once there are 5 entrances...
A health facility and a residence.
Excellent. So you only lock up, and it will be unreasonable to lock the entire place.
Great. Right. I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Right. Who am I speaking to?
Yes, Ajimanje from tonight, Emma.
Right. I've seen your WhatsApp. You've been asking whether private doctors and government doctors go under the vetting and gazetting, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I know. I mean, officials go around to be checking those people who are being gazetted or they are having the requisite licenses to operate. But has there been a point that when they go around, sometimes they bring people who are not being registered and they are facing the law? Because we have not been hearing such things. But we still do have people in town who are operating without licenses. Example is the Probin Foot case. It's not because somebody went there for something to happen to the person. We have gotten to know that that person was operating without being licensed or being known by the official.
So basically, I think he's asking about your machinery.
Yes.
And, do you go around to do this?
We are constrained by resources, but we do. And I just want to indicate to him that even before the sad incident of our sister, the late, happened at Obin Andos place. In 2012, when he was suspended, Council published that suspension in the Daily Graphic. Then when...
Even on your webpage, I think 2016 and 2018, there are notices. That the members of the public who go there do so at their own risk.
Absolutely.
That is where I have a bit of a
because
challenge.
We have a collective responsibility.
Right.
And a facility has been shut down 3 times. The individual nonetheless opens the facility and carries on recklessly. This is a serial offender, completely out of character.
So why is that person? I mean, I understand the technicalities under which the discharge was given. With regard to a specific charge. I also understand that has been sorted out, and he'll be going to court on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And
I need to explain that.
Yes. All right.
Because the discharge first had nothing to do with the homicide case of the late Stacey.
It had to do with practicing without license.
It has to do with practicing without license, having a facility, a healthcare facility without being registered under our sister Regulatory Bodies Agencies Act, Health Institutions and Facilities Act.
So that's the specific discharge. And the discharge was technical in the sense that you were required to give his lawyers access to certain documentations, which the court felt you hadn't done in due time.
Well, that is important.
Let me take this call and then we'll come back to those details. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Oti.
Thanks for joining us. What's your name?
Oti Boateng Chema.
Oti, you're most welcome. Share with us quickly.
My question is, I think they are doing well, but their well is not enough. In the buses and the car, we see the cop doctors. They are in the car, they are doctors. They can describe any type of term. They can say anything for you. What are they doing with that doctors?
Okay.
The cars inside the buses, they are huge. The police stations and the staff.
Right.
I think if they announce that these people are not doctors, the publishing of graphic, a lot of people don't know. I don't know if it's there. They should go there and let announce it, broadcasting a tree. Anyone will hear it.
Okay.
So this daughter is not licensed. So if you see any daughter like this, you can let him arrested.
Okay.
That's
right. But I think Ghanaians also, we do a lot of work and education in this regard. You should not be patronizing such kind of services on public transport and in other places, right? I have another caller on the line. Oti, I'll put your question to the doctor in a sec. Hello.
Yeah, Note, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Kisi. New Ningo.
Note Banita.
Right, yes. Share with us quickly.
Yeah, Note, I understand from investigations done by Joy FM, okay, that the man in question, Dr. Obenfo, got only trained only in 2 weeks to do what he is doing. Okay? But the medical and dental council, is that what passes someone or qualifies someone to come and do what the man is doing? For only 2 weeks, you only practice, or you have to go and learn for only 2 weeks, and then you come and start practicing. Is that what their rules and regulations says?
Okay, right.
Thank you.
Let me just clarify, right? He was licensed initially to practice medicine. This is a special qualification he required, which he lacks. Okay, it's not that they went ahead to license him knowing that he's doing these things. Right, hello?
Yes, hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ote.
Right, who's this?
Stephen Magazine.
Right, Stephen, share with us quickly.
Well, I think it's a clear case of the state failing its citizens every step of the way.
Okay.
Recently, we had men's gold issue. And I don't want to bore you with the details from SEC Bank of Ghana.
Right.
And it's the same thing with all state institutions. We set them up, we don't fund them, and they do lousy job, and all they say is, don't go here. End of story.
Okay.
Some of it.
So you are disappointed in the medical...
We are completely disappointed with kind of things that state institutions are doing, including that institution. If you are not funded, just close it down and let everybody do whatever they like to do in town.
Right.
Because you are doing no work, and all you do is put in daily graphic. How many Ghanaians read? And even those who read, how many of them buy daily graphic every day to read your notice in that newspaper?
Okay.
So for me, the whole thing is, you notice that this person is not licensed, you move round, you get a hint, you go there with the police, arrest everybody who works there, and take them. That's the only way out. You cannot do that anywhere apart from Ghana. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. My listeners are sharing their sentiments. 0302 216541. Hello, just a second, Doc. Yep.
Hello, yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Noti.
Hey, Lukman.
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good afternoon to you.
Right, share with us in about 30 seconds, okay?
Okay, thank you. Today I don't have a question. I just want to add to what you just said from the beginning. You know, we should say no to any kind of violence in Ghana. I know myself. I am a peaceful person. Are you?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Please, what can the council do if someone fails to pay fines they impose? This is again from BB in North Kaneshie. I'm going to reserve the rest of the time for Doc because he has things to respond to. That's why I brought him. Dede in Maryland again sent something which says, not a good reflection on the council to say the least. He refused to pay the fine and nothing whatsoever was done to him. He then flouts other registrations or regulations willy-nilly, and the council goes happy-go-lucky with him. Right. So, Doc, you see, what I wanted you to get a sense of, whilst we explain the technicalities, right, is that most people feel, well, the profile of this case has changed or worsened over time. Sadly, a life or lives have been lost. I've gone through my research and several things have come up. Okay. What are the challenges in enforcement?
Yeah, I think that this is important because enforcement has different levels. And I've told you that we are just one institution in terms of professional enforcement.
Okay.
When it comes to people who have breached laws, we can only
criminal conduct.
Criminal conduct. We are only a complainant.
Are you happy with the partnership you have with the police in this case?
Not only in this case. In fact, the police have been very supportive.
Right.
But you see, if you just end with the police, that is not the full story. Now, let me get to the point where we are speaking now, where the case was discharged, that the individual was discharged. On the 1st of June, I was in court.
Right.
That was the first time that we were scheduled to appear on our charge that we had been pursuing since 2016.
Right.
In fact, we were first scheduled to go to court on the 9th of February 2017. But you and I understand that a transition happened in this country.
Yeah.
And this individual, within his rights, petitioned the police. Remember that it's a criminal investigation.
He filed a petition.
So he filed a petition to the police. And it's only fair that the new administration, the police administration at the time, were given sufficient time to study it.
To give audience to the
I'll not
petition.
go into the details. Then, eventually, unfortunately for us, the things that council feared and had all along locked up the place and sought police assistance happened in May.
In the death of
the death of our late sister.
Right.
Now, following that, AG's advice back to the police.
Attorney General's advice.
Yes, Attorney General's advice back to the police was that the charges that had been preferred should be maintained and the prosecution should go.
Okay.
So the first day was on the 1st of June. Remember that at that time he was already in police custody on account of the homicide charge.
Okay.
Now the police themselves were having difficulty. He was taken to a district court, and the district court said he could go to any hospital of his choice.
Okay. On health grounds.
On health grounds.
Okay.
Now it became difficult to produce him in court on the 1st of June. So when we were in court and he wasn't there, the council contacted the hospital and asked that the normal professional thing should be done. In which case, his personal doctor who is seeing him there should examine him and give a report at the next adjourned date. So the council asked for a short adjournment. So an adjournment was given from the 1st to the 5th of June last year. On the 5th of June, I was in court again. The accused,
so essentially, you're reiterating
it's important
that
it's
you were present
for
in
the
court.
Public to understand.
And there was not a failure in prosecution.
There was no failure on the part of either the council, which is the complainant, or the prosecution.
Okay.
We were there.
Contrary to what the pronouncement from the circuit court said.
In fact, it was at our instance on the 5th of June that a court order was procured, directed at the medical director of Ridge Hospital to produce him after the court had been satisfied by a report from his personal physician that he was well.
Okay. So the Medical and Dental Council does not fail its responsibility or obligation to prosecute.
Not at all.
But in this instance, were you the ones prosecuting or was it the police?
No, we were there assisting the police. Okay. That is all, because it's a matter for the police entirely.
Okay. I have to take this call and then we'll wrap up. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, thanks for waiting.
Thank you.
Right, who am I speaking to?
Yeah, this is Apia calling from Socho.
Socho, Apia, make it brief, okay?
Okay, my question goes to the Deputy Registrar with the respect to PA license, physician license examination. In fact, they were supposed to write on exams on the September last year. About 4 p.m., they had a text message that the exams has been cancelled. And as I'm talking to you right now, no information, nothing from the council.
Okay.
And the students, about 2,000, 3,000 students, are still in the house waiting for a response from the council. But there has not been any communication from the council.
Can you speak to my producer? Just give me your details and then we'll follow up. And then I think Doc will comment briefly on that so that we don't derail in the last few minutes.
Just to satisfy Apia that it is not wholly true that there's been no word.
Okay.
This licentiate examination was suspended as, once again, council's respect for the judicial system.
Okay.
Individuals who went to an unaccredited institution sought to write our exam.
Okay.
And by statute, And if you are a public body and you have a statutory duty to perform, the general position in law is that courts are very reluctant to grant injunctions against you undertaking a statutory duty. Unfortunately for us, that was the situation in which you found ourselves.
So you were taken to court?
Yes.
And an injunction was sought?
Secured. It's not that, if it was not just sought, but secured.
Preventing the exam.
Ex parte.
Preventing the exam.
Exactly. And for a court that refused at that time to weigh the balance of convenience. And our position is that these people do not even have any legal right. Because there's no legal right to go to an unaccredited institution.
So essentially, you have to sort that out before this
exam
it's in court. Proceed.
But I must say that the matter is currently being settled out of court by the intervention of the Ministry.
But importantly, APIA also felt that they should have gotten some notification.
There have been notices to that effect, and all the parties. Remember that the parties include the physician assistants, those who were qualified, and those who at that time were not qualified.
Doc.
So parties who are close to it have notifications
addressed. Doc, so what is the way forward with regard to this case? I'm sure I'm going to have to do another program with you on this, but what is the way forward quickly? We're out of time.
The first thing
you're lining him up in court.
The first thing
that
is
charge.
that he will be in court, God willing, on Tuesday, and then the trial will start de novo. Which will mean, so the charges will be read. But just before we go off, to say that the council did not renege on its responsibility.
We've established that.
Two, that Dr. Obiando, as we speak, has no valid registration to practice medicine in Ghana. And we maintain that the public are advised,
as we speak, Doc,
not to seek healthcare from Obiando.
That's my last point.
Yes.
So as we speak, his facility is open.
He has opened it up.
His facility is open.
Absolutely.
Despite
our investigations have confirmed that. And we have added this as part of the case before court.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And
thanks a lot for your wonderful listenership.
Right. Thanks to our listeners, and thanks to my producer, Abekusan Kofi, and thanks to my brother Bile. As usual, I always take a minute or a second or more of his time, but he knows why we do that. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM, and Dr. Nubala will be back. We'll go through the bricks and mortar for these things next week. Many thanks for listening to us on Ultimate Health. Bile takes over right now.